Hey! Welcome to my book corner. Don't mind this. The front of the door came off. Welcome to my book corner. This is my desk, which I'm sure you're aware of. This is my nightstand and my books. And this is my bookshelf and my books. I have too many books, and today, in order to figure out my summer TBR, I thought I would go through and see how many of my books I've actually read. So, I'm gonna start by figuring out how many books I actually have in both of these spots. And then, I'm gonna figure out how many of them I've actually read to figure out how many books I should read this summer in order to not read them all, but get pretty far. Let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 31. That's pretty easy. 31 right there. I also have a ton of old books in here and books that I might need for school, which I should put Ender's Game in because that's what I read it for, but that's why I have it. Okay, I don't support. So I have 31 up here. I should probably write that down because I have terrible memory. Let's see how many are in here. The Works of Plato, Lord of the Flies, that, and Modern History. I think that's what that one was called. 1, 2, 3, 22, 23, 24. 24 books in there. 24. Now I gotta put him back. Okay, next up is the big boy. My bookshelf. It's, got all my school stuff in it from last year because we're not in school anymore and I had nowhere to put it, so it's in there right now. Probably put it under my bed because that's where all my old school stuff is. Yeah, I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, so there's 3 shelves, but I'm not gonna count this one because it's all old books that I wanted to keep just for the sake of memories, and then National Geographics that I plan on cutting up for their photos. These are the shelves I'm working with. This one, this one. These are all my cards for plotting. And those are all my candles. Let's go. Oh, and if you're wondering, this is a little face sculpted. I forgot I had a chemistry textbook. I'm gonna count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 24, 25, 26. 26. I gotta move these out of the way for science. So, this has 3 books in it, and this has 3 books in it, just for a heads up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23. Dang. Okay, I've done some quick maths, and I have 104 books, which is pretty good. I thought I had about 100, but now it's time to figure out how many of those I've read. I'm going to just pull out the ones that I've read, just a little bit, to see which ones they are. So, I've read the entire Scythe trilogy. It killed me and sliced me up into pieces, but I love it. I have not read any of these, or this one yet. Oh, I need to get to that. Okay, I have read these 2. Oh, and I bought these. And I'm probably gonna read them next. I'm kind of excited. Okay, I've read this one. I read this. I've read this like 5 billion times. I've read it 3 times. I've read it 3 times. Oh, this is not stable. Okay, I've read Kafka on the Shore. Oh god. This is not going good. Well, I haven't read any of these. I have read this one. Oh, this is gonna be hard. So there's this bookshelf. These ones are just pulled out a little bit because I've read all of them, but I think this one's gonna be my worst one because I tried to put all the books out here that I haven't read yet, minus like my favorites. Those that as well. So this one's probably gonna be the smallest for the amount of books I've actually read. Now let's go to this one, which is gonna be almost completely read because this used to be my already read shelf until I got too many books. I read this and I want to read it again. It's a big boy though. Read this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've read all of these. Ooh, I should read this book again. Ooh, and this one. Okay. So, I've read most of them. Okay, up here, this is sort of a mix of things I've read and things I haven't yet. Mostly things I haven't, though. This I read on ebook in like 6th grade because I still love the musical, but I read it on my phone in the class. All of these I've read. Voice crack. This I read, which is very topical right now, but I read it a while ago. This I've read twice. It's so good. This has my name in it, and I felt uncomfortable to read it, but I am trying to read it. And that's it for this shelf. Okay, now I'm gonna figure out how many books of mine are sticking out from their little stacks and their little rows. All right. After months of studies and calculations, I found the number to be 37. I've read 37 of my 104 books, which makes sense when you look at that stack, but doesn't make much sense when you look at my bookshelf. So that means I need to read, oh god, 63 books? Is that correct? Hey Google, what's 104 minus 37?
The answer is 67.
I got it wrong twice. 67 books. And then for my goals this summer, I wanted to read 3 a month until I got into class, to school. So that's gonna be 9 books. So then I'll only be down to 58. That'd be closer to half at least, but I'm gonna try and maybe read 4 or 5 books a month, but my goal is 3. I'm gonna push for 5 though. So I'm gonna maybe fit out a TBR for myself. So I have outfitted my TBR. It's 9 books for the next 3 months. Here's my TBR. No particular order. This is just the reverse order of what I picked it in. Some of these are rereads. Actually, I think one of them is a reread. So let us begin. The first book I picked up is a classic book because I have 5 classic books and I haven't read any of them. I have more classic books that I've read, like The Picture of Dorian Gray and Frankenstein, but I've already read those, so let those be. The first one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Yeah, it's a classic book. I need to read more classic books. There it is. Next is Educated by Tara Westover. Memoir about herself is what I assume. Heard that it's very good and I like memoirs, so I picked it up like 2 or 3 months ago and I just never got to it because I really don't like hardback books. But since I'm gonna be home, hardback books shouldn't be a problem. The next book is a first for me, but it is, maybe it'll get me into his classics. It is The Institute by Stephen King. I got it at half-price books. A lot of these books I got at half-price books, actually. You'll see the stickers on them because I like to keep the stickers on them until I read them so I can put them in my bullet journal as like proof for myself. Next up is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. See, I got it from half-price books. When I bought this, the person that rang me up said it was very good. So if that's not critically acclaimed, I don't know what is. Next, and I've had this forever because it came out forever ago, it is on the come up. It's a signed first edition, which is insane, and I also got it from half-price books. Where's the little signature? There it is. That's crazy. I don't think I've ever had a signed book, and I haven't even read this one yet, so this one is high on the list. The next 2 books are Becca C. Smith on YouTube, are The Riser Saga. I don't have the 3rd book yet, but I have the first 2, and I'm very excited for these because I love Becca C. Smith on her channel, and I've seen her go through these. I just want to read it. I got them, and I got them to read them, so I'm gonna try and read them this summer. Yep, I'm gonna try and get the third one too, so I can finish off the series. Next, since I've read Carry On, I'm going to read Wayward Son, the sequel to Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, because I've had it for a while. I bought Carry On and Wayward Son together, and I just never read the second one because when I'm reading series, when I'm reading a series, I tend to put books in between the books in the series, and I did that for the Scythe trilogy, and that was maybe a terrible idea because I finished the second book, and if you know what happens in the second book, you know, and I was like, no, I have to read another book before I read the Toll. So I put a book in between, and I was just like, what's gonna happen? I've put a lot of books in between Carry On and Wayward Son, but besides the point, my final book in my TBR is the Alexander Hamilton biography. I read it in 6th or 7th grade, and I feel like I didn't comprehend a thing because it's a big boy. I'm going to read this again and hopefully comprehend it a little better. I know the story, you know, the musical, but I'm gonna read it again because with books like this, I try to read it once I understand it. Like The Devil in the White City, I read that maybe 5th grade and I had no idea what was happening, so I read it again in 8th grade and it was a lot easier to comprehend. That's my TBR for this summer. That is 9 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna make a TBR stack on here so I can just see them and know that I have to read them. I'm gonna make my TBR stack. I'm gonna get reading. I'm currently reading Sapiens, and I'm very close to finishing that book. So once I'm done with that book, I think I'm gonna read Riser by Becca C. Smith. Those are my books. That's my TBR. Goodbye.